Well, after that Toad theory, I thought that would be the last I'd hear from MatPat for a while, but apparently not. Game theory is on a Mario streak, and next on the chopping block is Yoshi. And Bowser too? Well, we'll see. For a bit of context, this game theory episode is heavily based on the theory Yoshi's Gender and the Gender of Yoshis in General by Scarlet Merc, who appears to be a writer on this episode of game theory. This adaptation ironically removes the gender aspect of the theory and focuses more on the other conclusions reached. Once again, I want to make it clear that I have nothing against MatPat or the game theorists writing team as people. That doesn't mean I can't criticize their output. I'll be referring to MatPat specifically, despite the fact that many people work on these videos, because he's the face of the channel and the narrator. For all intents and purposes, he's framed as the one proposing this theory. Without further ado, let's begin the theory.
Hello Internet, welcome to Game Theory. You know, we've done our fair share of Mario videos over the years. Character by character, we've gone through the ranks to suss out their secrets. Is Mario a sociopath? Is Princess Peach dead? Is Bowser a deadbeat dad?
No, and no. Nice of MatPat to start with a trip down memory lane, but this serves as a friendly reminder that a lot of game theories, Mario theories, have issues.
Which brings me to the exciting topic for today's episode, Yoshi. Yoshi is such an iconic part of the Mario series at this point that it only made sense to do a theory on him, which is exactly what I did back in 2020.
This previous theory he's referring to is a pretty harmless science-based theory, which tries to figure out which real-world dinosaur Yoshi is. While Yoshi is obviously a Yoshi, and therefore not any species of dinosaur, it was still a fun video which attempted to find the closest real dinosaur to Yoshi.
However, not everyone was totally happy with that theory, because right at the start of the episode I gloss over what is one of the biggest parts of the Yoshi debate online. Is Yoshi a dinosaur, or is he actually a dragon?
This is actually quite good. MatPat addresses that people had issue with his previous theory, which is commendable.
Which may feel like a ridiculous question. Yoshi is clearly a dinosaur. He lives in Dinosaur Land, at least according to Super Mario World 1 and 2. Why would you name the land after dinosaurs if the main animal that lives there isn't a dinosaur?
Yes, Yoshis are from Dinosaur Land. However, they are far from the only animals that live there. Rexes, Dino Rhinos, Resnors, Eries, and Blargs all also make their homes there, which would justify the name regardless of Yoshi's classification.
In the Nintendo official guidebook of Super Mario World, Yoshi is referred to as a, translation magic? There we go. Quote, gluttony dinosaur Yoshi, who eats the minions of the Demon King Bowser, is a powerful ally to Mario.
Guides like these shouldn't be used as sources when proposing theories. Guides are almost always chock full of errors, particularly about the story and lore of the games they're based on. This is due to the fact that they're typically licensed out to other companies. Said companies' writers are allowed to embellish the stories or add details from their own interpretations without being overseen by the original writers.
And in most of his other appearances, like Super Smash Bros. And Super Smash Bros. Melee, he is referred to explicitly as a dinosaur.
Like I mentioned in the last video, the Super Smash Bros. Series is not canon to Mario, and its representations of the Mario characters cannot be used as evidence when crafting a Mario theory. A few of you actually asked in the comments of the last video how I'm so sure it isn't canon. To answer that, I think I'll just play Mr. Sakurai's quote from the November 1st, 2018 Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Nintendo Direct.
In the Super Smash Bros. Series, the characters are toys in the real world, but they are fighters in the world of the imagination. Returning to the real world is an ongoing theme. In the imagination, you can battle impossible combinations of characters.
So yeah. To reiterate, evidence from Super Smash Bros. Games cannot be used when talking about Mario lore.
In our previous episode, I was only able to find 2 occurrences of Yoshi being called a dragon, both of them within the same game. In Super Mario World, despite living in Dinosaur Land, Yoshi refers to himself as Super Dragon Yoshi, at least according to this sign outside of his house. He also appears on that game's Dragon coins, so I just chalked it up to a translation error and I moved on. However, going deeper into original Japanese source materials, you start to see that the word dragon appears more and more. For instance, the manual for Super Mario World Super Mario Advance 2 introduces Yoshi by saying, quote, a dragon named Yoshi, or a dragon calling himself Yoshi. Alright, so maybe the dragon thing only appears in older games? Well, wrong again. He also refers to himself as a dragon as recently as Super Mario Galaxy 2, where on a sign he explicitly says, Yoshi the Space Dragon.
I'm not a Japanese speaker, far from it. But there's actually something quite interesting going on here that I'm going to try and explain as best I can. Japanese has 2 words for dragons. The first, Doragon, is written in katakana and is borrowed from the Western word. This term is usually, though not always, used to describe the classic European dragon, like Drago from Mario's Woods, for example. This is the type of quote-unquote super dragon Yoshi classifies himself as in Super Mario World. The second, pronounced Ryu, is usually used to describe the classic Asian dragon, like Gobblegut from Super Mario Galaxy 2. Here's where things get interesting. You see, the Japanese name for dinosaurs is Kyoryu, and is made up of two separate kanji, which literally mean scary dragon. This, I believe, leads to confusion in localization, which would explain why Yoshi is supposedly sometimes a dragon, sometimes a dinosaur. Regardless, in all honesty, I don't think there's much of a distinction between dinosaurs and dragons in Mario's world in the first place, though I'll get back to that in a little while.
Then you have things like his final smash called Super Dragon in Smash Bros. Brawl and for Wii U, which causes him to sprout wings and breathe fire.
Again.
In the Super Smash Bros. Series, the characters are toys in the real world. Toys in the real world.
Throughout the Mario games, Yoshi isn't the only dinosaur-like creature that we encounter. So maybe by looking more closely at creatures in the games that share resemblances to Yoshi, we might be able to get closer to the answer we seek. Let's start by looking at Dory, a plesiosaur that first appears in Super Mario 64. As time has gone on, she has more and more taken on Yoshi-like characteristics. Fast forward to New Super Mario Bros. In 2006, and suddenly you can see that Dory is looking a lot more familiar. There's also Plessy from Super Mario 3D World in 2013, who, despite the name Plessy, is ironically enough not a plesiosaur. Like Yoshi, Plessy is bipedal, making it more likely based on the Nothosaur, an ancestor to the plesiosaur. So looking at these creatures and the real world family tree, it's likely the semi-aquatic Plessy gave rise to a branching pathway. One half went fully aquatic, that became Dory. The other half went fully terrestrial, and we got Yoshi.
This isn't how evolution works. Yes, it's almost definitely true that Plessys, Dorys, and Yoshis are distantly related. However, Yoshis and Dorys did not evolve from or branch off of Plessys. More accurately, Plessy would be more similar to the common ancestor of all three.
And if the physical similarities aren't enough, Yoshi, Plessy, and Dory's names all have a connection. All of their Japanese names are specifically marked with the ending shi. Dory's official Japanese name is Doshi, and Plessy's is Pureshi.
It's important to note that Noshis from Mario Kart Double Dash, Mario Kart 7, Mario Kart Tour, and Mario Party 8 also have the same ending shi in their names, which would give them just as much, if not more of a connection to Yoshi, since they're actually closest to real-life sauropods, the sisters of theropods. Despite this, Noshis aren't brought up at all here.
So then this would seem to confirm that Yoshi is a dinosaur, right? No. Neither plesiosaurs nor nothosaurs are technically considered dinosaurs. Instead, they're referred to as sauropterygian reptiles, ancient marine reptiles that ruled the oceans while dinosaurs roamed the land. They're thought to be the ancestors to dinosaurs. So Yoshi is a descendant of the ancient marine reptiles that we've seen in the games, making him pretty darn close to dinosaur status, right? Well, no, because there's one teeny tiny fire-breathing problem: Bahamut. Bahamut is a massive ancient dragon who serves as one of the enemies, but just like Plessy, he shares the same bulbous head, the same color pattern, he's even bipedal. Looking at him, other than the wings, it's hard to deny that Bahamut looks more similar to Yoshi than either Plessy or Dory. However, what's more important than his appearance is the fact that his Japanese name is the same as Dory's, Doshi. Heard that right, Bahamut. The ancient, aggressive, fire-breathing dragon shares the same Japanese name with a peaceful, friendly water taxi, and thus, some sort of lineage with Yoshi.
Firstly, MatPat, there's nothing that supports the idea of Bahamuts being ancient in Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars, which is odd since you mentioned it twice in that passage. Secondly, Bahamut and Plessy clearly don't share the same color pattern. Just look at their muzzles. Bahamut's clearly closer to Yoshi than Plessy. Thirdly, gotta be honest with you here, I don't think the name ending in shi really means all that much. It clearly applies to a lot of different reptiles in this world. Bahamut sharing a Japanese name with Dory was almost certainly just a coincidence, with Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars and Super Mario 64 being produced around the same time as each other.
No matter what way you slice it, Yoshi doesn't fit cleanly into either category. He's bipedal like Bahamut and Plessy, he can swim just like Plessy and Dory, we've seen him grow wings to make him even more closely resemble Bahamut, and he shares the same head and color patterns of all three.
Here, MatPat states that Yoshi can grow wings to even more closely resemble Bahamut, but these wings aren't natural, they're triggered by power-ups. These are clearly the same wings that Koopa Paratroopas, Paragoombas, and other winged enemies possess, or the wings on the wing cap, which are magical attachments akin to the tail and ears one gets from a super leaf. Either way, they don't look anything like Bahamut's wings. Once again, Yoshi doesn't really share the same head pattern as Plessy either.
How am I supposed to be able to put him into one category? But that's when it hit me. What if we didn't have to choose? What if the reason Yoshi doesn't fit into one or the other is because he's both? What if Yoshi is a hybrid?
Or, hear me out, what if he's neither? This is where the theory begins to go to places I don't understand the thought process behind. Why do Yoshis need to fit into the same category as Bahamuts or Dories when Yoshis are just their own species? There's no necessity to make Yoshi a hybrid. He isn't intrinsically tied to Bahamuts or Dories. There's no implied direct relation. This is just a huge leap in logic. Plus, you also neglected to mention that the vast majority of hybrids are completely sterile, and those who aren't produce young with birth defects. This is in stark contrast to Yoshis, who all reproduce asexually and give rise to completely healthy babies as far as we see.
As you might expect, these hybrids inherit the traits of both parents, both in terms of appearance, but also in terms of the behaviors that have been coded into their DNA. This concept of inheriting partial traits from parents of related species would explain why Yoshi doesn't fit neatly with either the dragon or the dinosaur category. Like all hybrids, he's adopted abilities from both sides. He's taken on the main form of the dragon Bahamut, but lost the wings thanks to the mixing of the flightless Dory and Plessy.
I also have to ask, how could a Yoshi be a cross of Bahamut, Dory, and Plessy? A hybrid is a cross between 2 different species, not 3. Plus, how can you be so certain that Yoshi is the way that a cross between these species would end up looking? Do you have any scientific proof? How about in-game evidence? The backing here is just flimsy, bordering on non-existent.
We've actually seen an example of this type of hybrid in the games already. Loyal theorists, I present to you Rex, a dinosaur-like creature with dragon wings that looks like a cross between Bahamut and Plessy.
A cross between Bahamut and Plessy? What? MatPat, Rex's defining features are their nose horns, purple skin, ridged bellies, and pronounced fangs. Plessys and Bahamuts have literally none of those traits. Sure, Rexes have wings that are maybe a little similar to the ones Bahamuts have, but I don't see a single trait connected them to Plessys. This is just coming out of nowhere, man. Also, what happened to Yoshi being a cross between Dories, Plessys, and Bahamuts? Unless you're saying the only difference between a Yoshi and a Rex is that one has a bit of extra Dory DNA.
So there you have it, friends. The reason Nintendo can't make up their minds about whether Yoshi is a dinosaur or a dragon is because he's technically both.
Remember earlier on when I said I don't think there's much of a distinction between dinosaurs and dragons in Mario's world? Well, now I'm going to show you why. Let's start with Yoshis themselves. As already discussed, various sources indicate that Yoshi is classified as both a dinosaur and a dragon. Yoshi is primarily modeled after dinosaurs, and has been called a dinosaur in the English Super Mario World manual and his Mario Party DS figure description. On the other hand, Yoshi's been called a dragon in the Japanese version of Super Mario World, as well as its manual, and on a sign in Sky Station Galaxy's 3rd mission, Pee-wee Piranha's Speedrun, in Super Mario Galaxy 2. In Paper Mario Color Splash, Huey called Yoshi's Dino Dragon Things. Rexes from Dinosaur Land are named after the dinosaur T-Rex in English, though they're named after dragons in Japanese. However, in the Japanese manual for Super Mario World, it's stated that, quote, as one would expect from a place called Dinosaur Land, the enemy characters this time look like dinosaurs. This one is Rex, which can be defeated by stepping on it twice. It has wings, but it does not seem to be able to fly, unquote. Dino Rhinos, which are named after and resemble ceratopsian dinosaurs, are able to spit fire like dragons. They are also stated to be dragons in the English manual for Super Mario World, while being called dinosaurs in the Denizens of Dinosaur Land pamphlet included with Super Mario Advance 2 Super Mario World. Resnors, which resemble Triceratops, are able to spit fire like dragons. Dories, which are based on plesiosaurs, are described as sea dragons in Super Mario 64, in both Japanese and English. In short, it's pretty clear that the terms dinosaur and dragon are practically interchangeable when it comes to Mario. So yes, Yoshi is technically both a dinosaur and a dragon by this world's standards, but not because he's a hybrid of the two. Now, while you think the video would end here, MatPat actually has one more surprise for us.
Yes, I know, there's still the thing on his back. Is it a shell? Is it a saddle?
It's a shell that functions as a saddle to those who are riding Yoshi. I mean, just look at it. It's identical in appearance to the shell's spikes or rocky wrenches wear. As MatPat brings up later, this is confirmed in Yoshi's description in the kids section of the Nintendo Co. Limited website, as well as in multiple interviews with Takashi Tezuka.
Well, in the original art from 1993, it labels the thing on Yoshi's back a saddle, and its flat appearance, coupled with the use of it as a place for Mario to sit while riding Yoshi, supports that statement.
This quote-unquote original art from 1993 is actually from the Nintendo of America character guide that was published in 1996. This guide was created by Nintendo of America to be used for advertisers and had nothing to do with Yoshi's original designers or Nintendo of Japan. The guide is also full of errors about the characters and the series featured within it. It is not a valid source, and should not be used as such for theories.
The official Nintendo Japan website currently refers to it as a shell. Quote, even though there's a shell on his back, we actually don't know whether Yoshi's a dinosaur or a turtle. Annoyingly, it's not a translation issue either, as the word they use for shell is the same one that they use for the shells that we see during Mario Kart, which opens us up not just to real-life animal comparisons, but an in-game one, because the shells in Mario Kart are confirmed to belong to one of the franchise's most notable villains, the Koopa Troopas. And that's not where the similarities end either. If you compare Dry Bones' example of a Koopa skeleton to the faces of freshly hatched Yoshisaurs, they both have a tooth-like bump in the mouth that seems to disappear as both species eat and grow. Koopas also have major species variations: Boom Booms, Hammer Brothers, Lakitus, even Bowser and the Koopalings, all of which are visibly distinguishable from each other. Yoshi would have had plenty of different Koopa ancestor options for hybridization. Maybe the shell of a Koopa shrank due to being a hybrid, or maybe he started with a Koopa like Spike, whose shell doesn't wrap around his whole torso.
Yes, Yoshis were designed from the beginning to have connections to Koopa Troopas, even back when Yoshi was considered for Super Mario Bros. However, the only thing that canonically links him to the Koopas is his shell, and this is where the idea that Yoshis are Koopa hybrids begins to fall apart. Shells are not a part of a Koopa's anatomy, simple as. Koopa shells are completely removable. Mario can knock Koopa Troopas out of their shells in Super Mario World and Super Mario 3D World. In Paper Mario, it's stated that some Koopas have their shells tailor-made to fit their bodies. Bowser swaps out his shells for different effects in Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars and Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story. Even other non-Koopa races like Rocky Wrenches or Conk Doors wear shells, while Mario puts on shells and rides around in them in various games too. Koopas aren't even born with shells, as we see with Junior Troopa, a baby Koopa Troopa whose only shell comes in the form of the egg he hatched from. This is also true of baby Yoshis, who clearly have no shells. Another example of a game that confirms the thing on Yoshi's back is a shell that hasn't been mentioned yet is Mario Kart Tour, where challenges that require the player racing as a driver wearing a shell can be completed by Yoshis. Notice the use of the term wearing there. Simply put, Yoshis having shells does not imply they're closely related to the Koopas. It just shows they have a similar clothing style.
In the 2010 Super Mario history book, Takashi Tezuka states that, quote, Yoshi was originally supposed to be a type of Koopa. That saddle you see on his back was actually his shell. I don't really know how I couldn't put this one together sooner. I literally gave myself the biggest clue possible in the previous episode. Nintendo's official name for the Yoshi dinosaur, his scientific name, is T. Yoshisaur Munchakoopas. And that is coming from the official 1993 Nintendo character guide, by the way. They literally put Koopa in Yoshi's name. Should have been obvious.
This is, once again, coming from the 1996 Nintendo of America character guide, which is absolutely not a valid source. Yoshi's scientific name is not T. Yoshisaur Munchakoopas, and even if it was, this still wouldn't hold up. In binomial nomenclature, the second part of the name, Munchakoopas in this case, has nothing to do with the species Yoshis they're related to. If they were related to Koopas, Koopas would be in the first part of their name, which represents the genus. As well as that, it's obvious that the Munchakoopas in this name is a reference to Yoshi's diet, implying that they eat Koopas, not that they are Koopas.
No matter how you slice it though, all of it is putting one of Mario's closest allies into a bit of a compromising position. And with more and more interviews bringing up the Koopa connection specifically, is Nintendo trying to tell us something? Bowser may have almost caused the extinction of the Yoshis back in Yoshi's Island.
Bowser didn't almost cause the Yoshi's extinction in any game. I'm not sure where you got that from.
But Mario hasn't always been the best of friends to Yoshi's either. How long until Yoshi has had enough? How long until those evil Bahamut and Koopa roots come up to the surface? Maybe one day we'll drop Yoshi into a pit for that little extra jump, and that'll be the final straw. He'll betray us, as we've done to him so many times before.
Yoshi is one of Mario's best friends. Mario treats all Yoshis with the same respect he treats everyone else. Let's not pretend that Mario throws Yoshis into pits. We all know that that's not what you're supposed to do. If the player chooses to do it, that's on the player, not Mario.
Finally taking his rightful place at Bowser's side. But hey, that's just a theory. A game theory. Thanks for watching.
What a way to end. Just to discuss that last point, it'd be completely out of character and unjustified for Yoshi to join Bowser. Even if Yoshi was a Koopa, his genetics wouldn't define who he is as a person. It's also worth noting that not all Koopas are even loyal to Bowser. Take Koopa from Paper Mario, for example. I'd also like to address the fact that this video has a fair amount of clickbait in both the title and thumbnail. I'm guilty of clickbait myself, but never in the actual video do they come close to the conclusion that Bowser and Yoshi are related. And the entire ending just comes across as a small bit forced in an attempt to half justify the false advertising. But I digress. This theory has very little actual evidence. And when you think about what's actually being proposed here for more than a couple of seconds, it becomes immediately noticeable. After all that, I think we can soundly say that Bowser is not the father. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and check out some of my other stuff.